Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ruminate This with Agrarian Solutions. Join us as we explore ruminant nutrition and the impact of mycotoxins. Here, we challenge your curiosity and explore new industry insights and research to optimize your herd's health and performance. All right. Hey, welcome, everybody, to another episode of Ruminate This with Agrarian Solutions. I am your host, Scott Zerh, and today I know I say this a lot, but folks, I'm actually really excited about today's episode because the conversation we're going to have is something that has impacted me profoundly. And as you can see, I have a guest here with me, and her name is Jodi Hojnoski. And Jodi, if you wouldn't mind, just tell the audience here on Ruminate This who you are, where you are at in the world, and what does Jodi do?
Thank you, Scott. I'm excited to be on your podcast as well. So I am Jodi Hojnoski, and I live in a little town called Gill, Massachusetts, which is just south of Brattleboro, Vermont, the home of the Holstein Association and the Holstein Foundation. I grew up on my family's farm in Wisconsin, but got recruited to move out here and really didn't even know a soul when I started my career at Holstein, and have now accumulated over 20 years of experience working with both the association and the foundation. But the real reason I stick around is because the Young Dairy Leaders Institute is something that I just love working with. It's an absolute joy working with the program. And Scott, with you as an alumni, you've gotten to experience it firsthand, the energy it brings to the participants. I get that same energy out of the program myself as a staff member. So
the energy, Jodi, is definitely through the roof when you bring all these young people together that love the dairy industry, one, and want to better themselves as professionals and people, two, three. And I feel very lucky, very fortunate. We had a speaker, Paul Vitale, rest in peace, Paul, and the impact that Paul had on YDLI 12. I'm getting chills thinking about it, but I've never had a speaker show up the way he showed up. And in the course of what he talked to us virtually for probably 30 minutes, maybe a little longer, the range of emotions that Paul brought to the table, I mean, we were all devastated, crying. He had us laughing, tears of joy, tears of sadness. It was just, and to me, and to give the listeners a little bit of a backstory, this guy is a speaker. He's passed on now, but he was battling cancer and literally had treatments the day before. Couldn't get out of bed that day. Put his big boy pants on, showed up for us, and delivered. And talk about a lesson of just showing up. You know, we talk about that a lot, Jodi, and you can expand on this. Like, it's one thing to show up, but what did it mean? You were the advisor, the head person of that class. What did it mean for you to see what he did to YDLI 12 when he showed up, the way he showed up?
I'm with you, Scott. You're giving me chills here just thinking about it, because I got to be pretty good. I was fortunate to consider Paul a friend, and you know what I think it was such a strong lesson in commitment, Scott. That when you commit to doing something, that you're going to do it, not just do it, but like give your all. I've got a friend. Her approach on it is it's either a hell yeah or a hell no in her life right now. She's got 2 young children, you know, and I think that too is just being really committed, really intentional. And if you're going to do something, you're going to do with all your might, all your heart. And Paul was such a shining example of that. You know, he showed up virtually for us for the phase 1 part of our meeting, and then he recorded a special video message that I got to share with you all when we came back a year later. And then I think it was probably a year after that when he had passed and succumbed to his cancer. And, you know, I think about him a lot, actually, and what a great, kind human he was.
I do too. Wow. I mean, we could probably spend this whole episode talking about the impact that Paul has had because we weren't the only class he ever talked to. But, so who are the people that attend YDLI?
So the Young Dairy Leaders Institute is targeted to younger individuals that have an interest in the dairy industry, ages 22 to 45. They don't necessarily need to be working in the dairy industry, but a lot of them either are full-time dairy producers or working in allied industry. What I find really interesting, Scott, in more recent classes is that it used to be we were all a bunch of farm kids in the room and maybe stayed on the farm, maybe got a job somewhere else. But what we're seeing now, and it's great, there's a lot of influx of participants that didn't grow up on a farm. A lot of them maybe didn't discover agriculture or dairy until into their college years or sometimes even after. And we welcome them all. If you have an interest in the dairy industry, you are welcome to apply. So we'll accept anywhere from like 60 to 75 applicants in the class. And the important part is that you've got to apply for the program. And that application is available on the Holstein Foundation website. It's going to be due August 1st. That website's holsteinfoundation.org. And yeah, it's a pretty simple application with one letter of reference. And I guarantee you it'll be worth it. You'll get a chance to hopefully meet 50 new best friends that you didn't know you had or needed in your life.
And just so you know, folks, you'll be able to find that application link in the show notes to this episode as well.
Perfect.
Jodi, so that's who attends, but what's the driving purpose behind YDLI? And actually, I'll save my follow-up question after that.
Yeah, so when the YDLI program first started, the founders were saying, we really need to get some young people to step up and take leadership roles in our organizations. They were looking around the boardroom saying, ooh, who's going to fill my shoes when, I'm not doing this anymore. So they recognized that void and really wanted to help build up our young adults so they could be the future board members, future leaders for these dairy organizations down the road. So that's where, the leadership concept really comes from. But so much of the content really just comes down to communication and interpersonal relationships and how to bring out your best and also bring out the best in others.
I'll second that. I mean, that's exactly what I saw when I went through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Oh gosh, YDLI had me doing things I didn't think that I would ever do because I didn't really think I'd have a reason to do them. And what's cool about it is post YDLI, I find myself going right back to taking the things that I learned at YDLI, the things I picked up on, some of the team building aspects, some of the communication aspects of it, and applying it. Not just like applying it for my role here at Agrarian, but within my own organization, my maple business, within my personal life. I really encourage people, if you have a desire to grow personally and professionally, and you're interested in the dairy industry, the dairy community, this is a great opportunity for you. So tell us a little bit about where is YDLI? Like, where do you go to attend? And what's unique about the 3-phase program?
Yeah, so you mentioned the 3 phases, and I think that's a really important part because, we're not the kind of program where you put the meeting materials on the shelf when you get home from the meeting and that's it. We really try to present the skills, have you practice the skills, and then practice them again in your home community to really create habits in some of these things that you might want to work on as an individual. So phase 1 is really focused on you as an individual, being very introspective, getting to know yourself, understanding your styles, and then put that out a little bit into, figuring out other people's styles and trying to meet them where they are to be more effective with your communication. Phase 2 is all about you trying out some of these new skills in your home community. We push you to do some things that might be a little bit uncomfortable, push you out of your comfort zone a little bit, and push yourself in different areas. Give presentations to community organizations, interview consumers about their buying habits, and having conversations and advocating for dairy. Lots of other things. We've done some more things now to expand phase 2. So it's more of a choose your own adventure, right? So there's the different things you can focus on throughout that year in between phases. Phase 3, we focus more on honing those communication skills, more about dealing with change, working with groups, practicing media interviews with a camera in your face. I'm sure you remember that feeling, Scott.
I do.
Talk about being uncomfortable, right? But
Yeah.
it's effective. There's things that I learned that I use in my daily work with that communications training. So I mentioned this happens, all these 3 phases happen over the course of a year. So this upcoming YDLI class is going to be class number 14. We've graduated nearly 800 alumni in the program already.
Oh.
So the class will meet in February, early February of 2026 in Dallas, Texas for phase 1. They'll have that phase 2 year in between. And then early February 2027, we'll bring everyone back together in Dallas for the phase 3 meeting.
Yeah, that's great. Phase 2, I want to spend a little time there because for me, it was a chance to, like you said, you take some of the stuff that we talked about when we all got together for that first week. And now you have to go back and actually do something about it. In our sales training, I talk a lot about the sponge effect, right? So it's great to absorb information, but if you don't actually go out and empty the sponge, you forget all of it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, Jodi, I think that was a great lesson. And for those of you that are listening, maybe you work for a company and you go to a sales conference, right? And we all love going to those. Well, some people love going to sales conferences. I like going. I like drinking from the fire hose. It gets you all charged up. And then what happens? You get back to the daily grind.
Yeah.
And it's gone. You forget all about it. And I like what you said. I think the point of teaching habits,
Mm-hmm.
that's how it sticks. I'm going to bring this in. I didn't know if I was going to, but the habit part, you mentioned change, getting out of your comfort zone. So before we started recording this episode, we were talking about one of the presenters that has been there in the past, Galen Emanuel.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys want to Google Galen Emanuel, he's an author. You can follow him on YouTube. If you subscribe to his email list, you'll get some weekly emails with some tips on, I'm going to call it working with people.
Mm-hmm.
And beyond. But Galen did this exercise. And for me, it was mind-blowing to go through it. And it's even more mind-blowing to actually do this exercise with people. And he had us look at each other face to face. And we had probably 15, 20 seconds to look at each other up and down, head to toe. And you're just kind of like, okay, what's this person wearing? You're trying to see what the other person looks like. You turn back to back and you have to change 3 things about your appearance. And Jodi, what overwhelmingly do people do when they have to change 3 things about their appearance?
They're going to remove things.
Yes. And what does Galen teach us?
That you really need to think about adding things.
Yeah, change can be additive, folks. We're so conditioned as humans to assume change means less.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think it's applicable across all aspects of dairy, in my opinion. If you're a nutritionist, things are going well. Why are we going to mess with the diet? If you're a veterinary, this vaccine protocol is working good. Why are we going to change it? If you're a dairy farmer, this particular hybrid is working good. Maybe you're picking seed corn, or this particular program for getting cows pregnant is working good. Why are we going to change it? It can only get worse. That's not true. It's inherently not true. So I think there's so many good lessons that come out of YDLI. And Jodi, I'm almost forgetting one of the most important aspects of YDLI. Talk to us about the networking aspect.
I was waiting for that, Scott, because we have talked a lot about the speakers, and we do pride ourselves in really putting some cutting edge content out there. And yeah, I think if you asked alumni what the number one takeaway best thing out of YDLI that they get out of it, it is that network, friends for life. And, both personally and professionally, having people that can help fill your cup that come from all different walks of life, parts of the country that you didn't even know before. And now you're getting together with them at this meeting or when you're passing through here or there. Maintain those relationships for lifetime. It's really something to see.
It is. And I got to really, I felt like experience that firsthand a few weeks ago in Reno for the Western Dairy Managers Conference.
Oh, did you? Tell me.
I put a post on the YDLI 12 alumni group. Who's going to be in Reno? Let's get together. About 4 different people said we're probably going to be there, or we're going to be there. And I think there was 4 of us there that were from that class, and we all made it a point to get together and catch up, have a drink. But then what was cool is that one of the nights after the speaking stuff was done, some of the companies were hosting, like a little after hours party, if you would. And I got there and I saw somebody that was from YDLI 12. They're in a circle of people, and there's like 10 people in the circle, and they're all YDLI alums.
Oh, wow.
And so it's just like there was like 4 classes represented in this circle, and we're all just chopping it up. And yeah, I mean it's impactful personally because you develop friendships with people that just bring perspective, or as you say, fill your cup.
Mm-hmm.
And professionally speaking, it's been impactful for me too, because as I go on to a dairy farm, maybe maybe they have, I'm not going to drop the company's name, but maybe they have a parlor issue with a certain parlor company. Well, hey, I was classmates with a guy in YDLI 12 that is pretty high up in that company now. Let me give him a call. Instantaneously, I'm bringing value to that person.
Right.
And that's happened a few times across a few different platforms.
Yeah, you're bringing value both ways, all across the board.
Yeah. So I'm curious, how many years have you been involved with YDLI?
So I started, I think it was class 5 was my first class that I worked with. And ironically, I stepped away for the last class, but I came back because I needed YDLI in my life.
I think everybody does, Jodi. I really do. I have made the comment to the brass here at Agrarian that if we're hiring somebody under the age of 40, like it should be a prerequisite that they have to attend.
Yeah, it's no secret. A lot of companies do use it as kind of a training grounds for newer employees. And hey, we encourage that.
So what is, if you had 30 seconds to make the pitch as to why somebody should move off that spot and click the link and fill out the application, what would you say to them?
I think it's really important for folks in the dairy industry to take time to invest in themselves. And this program will grow you personally and professionally. So I suggest make that investment of time and money because it will pay you dividends through your lifetime.
So I know on the professional side, oftentimes the companies will sponsor that person. You talked to me earlier about a scholarship program for dairy producers. Can you dive into that?
That's right. We have, in memory of Horace Bacchus, the late great Horace Bacchus, we've established a scholarship fund that will give a full ride scholarship for dairy producers to attend YDLI. And if they successfully complete the program, they'll also be eligible for a $1,000 bonus that is just to help offset labor costs while they're off the farm, because we realize there's an added cost there if you're a full-time farmer. So we do have scholarship funds available for full-time dairy producers to attend the program. So highly encourage those folks to consider applying. When you apply, you're automatically eligible for these scholarships. And we also encourage people to seek out, if you don't work for allied industry that can help fund your attendance at the program, ask if you are involved in a farming operation, ask some of your suppliers, your partners on farm to help support your attendance in the program. I know there's other organizations like even Farm Bureau has some continuing education dollars available in some parts of the country. So, just seek out other opportunities to help support your way. And, you can just give them a report out as you go through the program. And I think a lot of companies have found that experience very rewarding.
Yeah, that's a good point on the Farm Bureau. I kind of forgot about that, but they do have a lot of stuff like that available. What is the ballpark total figure investment?
Yeah, so the registration fee, which covers the entire year, is only $750. And then the participants pay for their own hotel and airfare. That's it. The meals, the program, the materials, any transportation for tours while they're there is included. And if the hotel, if you want to share with a roommate to help cut the hotel costs, we can arrange that for you too.
Yeah, I'm thinking back, and I mean, I just went a couple years ago, and I want to say maybe ballpark again, that folks, this is going to depend on your nightlife, but maybe a couple $1,000s total between airfare, registration fees, hotel rooms, Ubers, that kind of thing. And Jodi said it, folks, invest in the people, invest in yourself. I've said it before, Jodi, and I'm going to continue to say it. I think the more the dairy industry, dairy farms, dairy, allied companies invest in people, the better off we're going to be.
Amen.
I think it's the biggest return on investment they'll ever get.
Agreed.
So, Jodi, I really want to thank you for taking time out of your day today. And I am thrilled that you are back at YDLI helping this program. Your impact on my life, just in our conversations at YDLI, the program you put together, I mean, it came from somewhere. This program doesn't happen without somebody guiding it. And I know there's a ton of people involved behind the scenes. It's not just you, but from one YDLI alumni, thank you for everything that you're doing to bring young people into the program.
Well, thank you, Scott. That really warms my heart. And I'm very proud to call you a YDLI alumni and really appreciate you giving back and helping us recruit the best and brightest for YDLI Class 14 coming up here.
And it's going to be hard for them to be better than YDLI 12, but
it's a challenge,
yes, folks,
putting that out there.
there is a little friendly competition between class of which one's actually the best class. So, all right, folks. Well, hey, we will talk to you again in 2 weeks here on Ruminate This with Agrarian Solutions, and I hope you all have a safe couple of weeks. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Ruminate This with Agrarian Solutions. Look for our next episode in 2 weeks.